Cancel.
Schweezy.
So we got a Garth Brooks update. I like that. I really like that. I need to get the soundboard back because I can't just be fucking quote. I like that. I really like that. This is from Best Life Online. Only place I get my news. Kenny Loggins opens up about feud with Garth Brooks in new memoir. Do you remember that time when Garth Brooks brought his guitar to court, ready to defend himself through song? If not, Kenny Loggins' new book is here to give you a refresher. In 1991, Loggins and his guitarist Guy Thomas wrote the song Convictions of the Heart. 2 years later, Brooks released a song titled Standing Outside the Fire that Loggins and Thomas thought sounded a little too similar to their composition. Eventually, the musicians ended up in court together, and now decades later, Loggins is looking back on the lawsuit in his new memoir, Still Alright, in the book The Danger Zone. Singer shares his recollection of how the lawsuit went down, as well as what he says Brooks admitted to him. Read on to find out more about the feud between the two musicians. Fuck you, this blog article. Continue on. In Still Alright, Loggins explains that Thomas contacted him when he realized the Standing Outside the Fire sounded similar to Convictions of the Heart. The Footloose singer, God, stop mentioning every song he's written, says that his co-writer was ready to sue right away, but that he wanted to try to talk to Brooks first and see if they could settle things on their own. Loggins claims that Brooks admitted that he borrowed from his song, and so Loggins suggested that he and Thomas should receive a percentage of the sale. Garth didn't like that idea at all, Loggins writes in his book. His tone grew steely and defensive, as reports by Variety. In time of the lawsuit, Brooks maintained publicly that he did not copy the song. As reported by Page Six, our good friends over there at Page Six, and Thomas then sued Brooks for $5 million. When it was time to appear before the judge and jury, Brooks arrived ready to perform and demonstrate the difference between the songs. Garth actually showed up in the courtroom with an acoustic guitar, ready to play the song live for the judge, Loggins writes. Brooks' guitar didn't end up being necessary. The judge called Thomas and Brooks into the chamber, and when they emerged, Garth was ready to settle, Loggins write of the 1998 court appearance. The agreement meant that the amount of money involved couldn't be shared, although Garth had to admit to settling the suit, Loggins writes. Afterward, he said publicly something like, "Sometimes you just have to pay to get people off your back," Loggins continues. "I let that one go. I haven't seen him since." The matter has been amicably resolved. Brooks' lawyer told Variety, Brooks, I'm going to say, this is Garth Brooks talking, "I hope he doesn't sue me again for mentioning that I sued him." Ha, 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 ha. And you'd laugh like that. Ha, 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 ha. Sometimes you just have to draw the line. Garth is infamous for being inspired by other people's work. He said to me, "Well, I love that song." What he said to his co-writers was that I came really close to Confessions of the Heart and just missed, so he kind of took it and made it what he thought it should have been. Loggins explained the intention was important when it came to suing Brooks because in court the question is, did they borrow from the original song intentionally, or was there a subconscious thing when you tap into the music that's hovering over all of us and you pull something down? Loggins claimed that Brooks told him he consciously took from the song. In this case, Garth, it was a conscious effort. He told me so. He said, "I want something just like this," to his co-writer. That's why it wound up on the steps of the courthouse. Best Life has reached out to Brooks representatives for comment, but has not yet received a response. Okay, so here's one thing. So when I was in school, like studying composition and like arranging and stuff like that, and I was mainly when I was doing those classes, I was like, I'm gonna write jazz pieces. I'm like, that's fine. I think that's gonna be the best thing for me. I think just mentally for the music I write now, I think working for jazz big bands is good. Light's really weird. I usually record this at night, but I'm now recording it during the day, and you have sunlight coming this way. Hopefully the lighting looks good. So when I was in school studying composition, one thing, it's a basic good exercise for most people to do, is this idea of contrafacts. What the idea of a contrafact is it's a chord progression of an already existing song that because you can't copyright chord progressions. That's just number of facts. So you can't do that. There's melody. It's mainly the idea is melody. That's the idea. Like last week we talked about someone's wanting to sue Mariah Carey because she has a song called "All I Want for Christmas Is You" when someone else wrote that a couple years earlier. And I'm like, that shit case should have been dropped like immediately. So with this idea, like him talking about this, I never knew this story. So I'm really interested. I at least may need to read this section into the whole thing or watch someone on YouTube do the exact same thing. Going over that though, so the idea of contrafacts is the same chord progression, but you make a whole new song out of it, which is a great practice. I always say to other people. I actually just the other day, my friend realized that Charlie Puth's song "Boy" and my song "Eggshells" sound kind of similar. They do sound similar, and I'm like, and in my mind, I was like, yeah, when I wrote it, the idea when I wrote it was I wanted something that had like. I didn't want to copy the chord progression, so I never learned how to play that song. So that's a good lesson for anyone. If you like the idea of a song, of like how they do something with it, but you don't want to complete rip off of it, don't learn that song. So I remember I wanted something that like went up a scale in a similar way, and so I started like F, G, A minor, G over B, C, D minor, C, G over B, and then C, and then I think it's C over E, F, and because I wanted something like that, because I wanted something that went up the scale like that, and so I had a friend notice that, and I was like, did you copy him? I was like, yes and no. I like the idea of a chord progression going up a scale kind of like that, but it's like a chord progression, but I didn't want to copy him exactly, so I 100% believe we have a difference in the songs, so, but I don't think he's going to want fucking my royalties. Charlie Puth's not going to try to run for my royalties. Even though I will still claim I didn't copy this. I didn't copy the song. I copied the idea of chord progressions going up a scale. Like, that's not something you can copyright. With this, though, like, yeah, it sounds like Garth was kind of doing the same thing, or at least his co-writers. I don't know who all wrote his song with that. They were probably trying to do the same thing. And it's very easy. If you look at One Direction songs, like, there's one song that sounds like Pour Some Sugar on Me, and they're like intentionally trying to make something with that energy and some chord progressions, and somehow they got like Def Leppard to not sue them over them. Like they could clearly have a case with that song and get money for it, and like they could get a good chunk of change for that, but they're like, no, we get it. So it's one thing like that. So I think the one thing is, Garth G, he admitted to, obviously he's like, I want something that kind of sounds like that. And we all kind of, and that's just the thing with songwriters. Like, you hear a song and you're kind of like, I want a song that kind of, not necessarily sounds, but feels like that. It's just a normal songwriter thing. So it's not uncommon to be like, I want a song that feels like that. And so you do that. And sometimes it can be copyright. And, when I end up thinking of the idea like that, like I would do with Eggshells, what I would try to say is make sure it's okay to have similarities with the song, but you have to understand, like, make sure the song doesn't sound like a ripoff. That's the idea that you're trying to go for when you're doing something like that. You want to make sure you're not just ripping off another song. That's what I say with G. And also, Garth, what the fuck happened to my dad, Garth? Still haven't heard an alibi from you about why my dad is currently dead. And so we don't believe you're the murderer. You're just a suspect. Just give us an alibi of everywhere you were between April 15th, 1958 and April 14th, 2022. That's all we want, Garth. What happened to my dad, Garth? Father's Day's coming up, Garth. We would love some closure on my dad, Garth. I keep commenting on your Instagram about my dad. You don't seem to respond to it because you're too big. Whatever. Where are the bodies, Garth? That's a good question. Where are the goddamn bodies, Garth? G, my boy G. Where the fuck are the bodies? Hey, you just finished one of the many, many highlights from Cancel Schweezy. We got plenty more on the channel, so make sure you hit that subscribe button, and if you like what you just watched, go ahead and smash that like button as well. Go subscribe for more so we can teach you how to be a better human in our world. So, yeah, stay awesome.